Hello Internet, my name is Ryan Ingram, and in this video we're going to be talking about exactly how to partner with a bank. This is really important for all real estate investors or aspiring real estate investors because at the end of the day, one of the most powerful things about real estate investing is being able to take advantage of leverage or other people's money. And in order to do this, you have to find other people's money. And the cheapest source of other people's money is banks. So all banks are not equal. Some banks are really going to like real estate investors. Others want nothing to do with them. So in this video, we're going to go over all of the things that you should look for when you are looking for a bank to partner with. You shouldn't just walk into any bank off the street and ask for money. So by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what you need to do and how you should go about interviewing banks to figure out which bank is the best fit for you. So if you're new to the channel, then I am committed to you. What I think is the meaning of life is becoming the best possible version of yourself for the benefit of all of those around you. So I'm committed to answering every comment, every question with either a response or a new video because I want to do all that I can to help you become the best version of yourself. The only thing that I ask is that you subscribe and either like this video if you find it helpful or dislike it if you don't and you think it was a waste of your time. I can't give you your time back, but I can give you the satisfaction of hitting that no thanks button. All right, so the first thing that you're looking for in a bank is the relationship piece. Now, just like all other aspects of life, it all comes down to relationships. People that know you, people that are familiar with you are going to be much more likely to help you out when you need it compared to those that don't. So we're all familiar with the pains of working with really large companies where you call in, you get a different person each time, and there's no relationship. So it's always just black or white, no exceptions, just check boxes that they're going through in this giant call center, and they do not care who you are. That is not what you're looking for in a bank. So the first and most important thing that you're looking for is a relationship. Now, how can you really quantify what type of relationship it is that you're going to have with the bank? Now, it's really good to have tellers that you often work with that you get tons of FaceTime with. There are a lot of transactions that I could do over the phone or online, but nonetheless, I actually walk into the bank and I interact with the teller. I want them to know my name, I want them to ask about my kids, and I want as much FaceTime as I possibly can with everybody, and I want to know their names and about their families so that if anything were to go awry, then I've got that relationship to fall back on. Now, it's little, it takes time, but nonetheless, it's extraordinarily important because, again, the more FaceTime you have with someone, the more rapport that you have, the more likely they are to help you out. So then when you do things like miss a credit card payment and it gets reported to your credit report, then they are more likely to figure out and get creative on ways to help you through that. It was super embarrassing when I did that, but nonetheless, because of the relationship, I was able to go in there and get everything worked out. If you want to know about how that impacted me, I've put that video in the description below. Now, that's just super friendly stuff with the teller, but at the end of the day, the teller is not going to be the one that is actually giving you the money. So there are a few small banks that we work with where we work directly with the vice president of commercial lending. Now, this is generally just one person. It seems like the smaller banks you go to, the more vice presidents you seem to run into. But nonetheless, the commercial lender is the one that you're going to want to build that relationship with. And it is important how long they've been there, what their career goals are. These are things that you should know because one thing that happened to me is I formed this phenomenal relationship with one of the vice presidents of commercial lending. He was working with me to get my business situated appropriately to where that company or that bank was going to be most favorable to lending to me. He was helping me figure out how I could check all of their boxes. He was really a consultant for my business, advising me how much of the tax law I should take advantage of, how much I shouldn't, so that I could get my financials completely lined up with them. So each time I found a property, they could just go ahead and prove me because he was the one that was making the decision. But he moved away. And whenever he moved away, that relationship was lost. And now there is a replacement, but that relationship had an impact because now I have to go through this entire process again of building the rapport, viewing him as a consultant, allowing him to have input into our business, and just build that relationship. Because whether you want to admit it or not, your banking relationship is a political relationship. The more insight and the more guidance that you allow that bank or that commercial lender to give inside of your business, the more likely they are to have a high level of faith in your real estate investing business. And that is going to go a long way, especially once you reach the point where you ask them for several millions of dollars. That long history is going to be there. They're going to know your financials intimately, and they're going to be able to make that decision on a much quicker basis. Granted, the deal is still going to be really important, but nonetheless, that relationship with the bank is ideal. So all that to say, when you are finding relationships, you're going to want to go out of your way to interact with them as much as possible, and you're going to want to make sure that you are with commercial loans dealing with the same one person or one of the same two people each time. And you want to make sure that their career goals are inside the bank and they're in it for the long haul. So the second thing that you want to do, which we've already kind of touched on, is allow them to have guidance or at least an insight into your business. As real estate investors, we sometimes tend to be on a high horse a little bit, but this is not a one-way street. Yes, we are asking them for money, and no, not all banks are intimately familiar with how real estate investors make decisions. But nonetheless, when you need money, the banks are going to be the cheapest way for you to get that money. So you really want to have a relationship with that individual. And in order to really make it a two-way street, you want to give that individual inside the bank a little bit of insight and allow them to feel like they are a mentor, a counselor, or some sort of provider of wisdom inside of your business. So you want to know all of the things about real estate investing, but you also want to go about figuring out how will the bank view these things. And this is when you're going to start finding a little bit of discrepancies about the things that people say about real estate investing online or really large real estate investing forums that aren't necessarily true inside of the banks. Now, one of the ways that I do this is, I lay out my goals and what I want to accomplish over the next several years, and I ask that individual what I should do to best prepare myself for that. And one thing that I love to do is my bookkeeper, my CPA, we have P&Ls regularly, and just about once per quarter, sometimes less frequent. I like to just voluntarily send that to the commercial lender because they like to stay updated in your financials. Generally, they want your updated tax return on an annual basis. So more intermittently than that, I just like to send them my current financials just so that they know I'm executing on the things that we've talked about. I'm being mindful of the way that I come across and I present my business to the banks. And I also want them to feel like I always keep them in the loop, because the more comfort that one lender has with you, they're going to exercise more of their discretion in your favor if that rapport is built. So as we are talking about these things, I'm sure several of you have thought about your Chase or Bank of America or these large banks, and you're like, there's no way that I could do any of those things with my current bank. And you are right. The third thing that you should look for is size. Now, if you're on the Bigger Pockets website or you listen to their podcast, then I'm sure you've heard tons of times that local credit unions are the best to work with. And this is exactly why. Because the size of the local credit union, where there's only 30, maybe 40 employees, you can go in and build deep relationships with everybody and keep them in tune with your finances. Because if the bank is much larger than that, then you're really it's gonna be a lot harder to form that personalized relationship with all of the people that you regularly go to. Now, I do work and have phenomenal relationships with one local credit union that is much larger than this, but I go out of my way I only visit one branch of that bank. And as far as the commercial lenders go, I only speak with one lady. I do my best not to deal with anyone else, and I only go to that one bank. And when I have to call in to the call center, I try to have a list of 2 or 3 people that I ask for first before I speak with anyone else. Now, the last piece to this puzzle is loyalty. And the reason that this is important is you want to give as much of your business to one bank as you possibly can. Now, what I've found in working with these local credit unions is I will work with one bank, I'll do 4 or 5 deals with them, and then they just want to kind of cool off, take it easy, and not necessarily do any more deals with you until they have a little bit more track record on those deals. At that point, I now go to a different smaller bank and do all of these same things again. But I let the first bank know that whenever they want more of my business, I will be happy to go back to them. And that's already starting to pay off. Just recently during this pandemic, I had a lender call me and say, hey, do you have anything going on that you need financing for? And absolutely. Of course I do, Mr. Local Credit Union. So the big piece about loyalty is, yes, you want to do as much of this with one bank as possible, but at some point, especially if you're growing quickly, I think so far this year we've purchased around 25 properties, then at one point that bank is going to want to kind of dial you back or rein you in a little bit. And that is when you now have the opportunity to go out and do this with another smaller bank. And you could just keep repeating this and repeating this. So I hope this is helpful. If you have any comments, questions, or want any clarification, please let me know in the comments below. And thank you for subscribing and either liking or disliking if this was a waste of your time. So thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you soon.